Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Real Talks Dominate Real Estate. I'm Charlie Bengel.
And I'm Meaza. Grab a cup of coffee and let's make your real estate career better.
Happy Hump Day, Eyerusalem.
Happy Hump Day.
What's in the news this morning?
Well, NAR partners with state, local realtor associations on vacant and abandoned property prevention. The National Association of Realtors kicked off Stabilizing and Revitalizing Neighborhoods in the COVID-19 Era, a four-part webinar series designed to explore the partnership between realtors and local government officials in prevention of property vacancy and abandonment. NAR is encouraging realtor leaders, association executives, and policymakers, particularly those in regions already impacted by vacancy issues, to attend the sessions, which began on August 11th and run through September 8th. The series is part of the NAR's Transforming Neighborhoods program, which offers realtors alongside local community partners the opportunity to comprehensively explore the underlying factors keeping vacant, abandoned, and deteriorated properties stuck in decline while examining ways to rehabilitate buildings and create more vibrant communities. The program and webinar series are part of the collaboration with the Center for Community Progress, whose mission is to foster strong, equitable communities where vacant, abandoned, and deteriorated properties become assets for neighbors and neighborhoods. For more information, please visit www.nar.realtor.com. In other news, as conditions from the pandemic to historically low interest rates bring more consumers into the real estate market, the topics they're searching for could highlight key areas to bring your consumer outreach on social media, blogs, and videos. Consumers are showing higher interest, particularly in learning more about mortgages and financial questions about the home buying process. Recent Google searches centered on real estate, according to Google Trends, are refinance home loan calculator, up nearly 4% last week. Can you use your 401k to buy a house? Up 2,800% in the past 3 months. And how low will mortgage rates go? Those searches have quadrupled in the past week. As mortgage rates hit a new low last week, Google searches soared as more buyers and homeowners online wanted to learn more. Coinciding with the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage reaching an all-time low of 2.88% last week, Freddie Mac reports. Other popular Google search topics also may indicate a higher interest from first-time buyers online. For example, Google searches for process of buying a house surged 950%. Another popular Google search topic is minimum credit score to buy a house. Homebuyers are also may be searching for deals. CNBC reports that Google searches for how to buy a foreclosure have increased over the past 2 months, as have searches for information on whether to buy a fixer-upper or move-in ready. Also, searches include the words suburbs, reached a high in July. The cities with the highest search and interest in suburbs over the past 3 months were Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, LA, and Houston. Last but not least, is the great suburban land rush a myth? As companies continue to offer flexible work-from-home policies for their employees, city dwellers in some areas have been shifting their focus to nearby suburbs, even as the flight to the suburbs has been called a pandemic myth by some. 51% of home searches by urban residents in the 100 largest metro areas during the second quarter were for suburban properties near their areas, according to the Cross-Market Demand Report recently released by Realtor.com. That marks an all-time high since Realtor.com started tracking such data in 2017. The trend is most prominent in the Northeast, particularly in the New York area, according to Realtor.com. In July, 58.1% of listing views from urban New Yorkers were for suburban New York metro homes. With remote work more common and accepted, it seems that people are looking to locate further from the office, either to enjoy more space at a better price or get closer to nature in the mountains or at the beach, says Daniel Hale, Realtor.com's chief economist. At this point, they are not venturing too far away. Hale says it's likely that the share of suburban home shopping activity will elevate even more into August. Charlie, what's going on with rates?
Thanks, Eyerusalem. Rates remain unchanged since Monday. 30-year fixed rate at 3%, 30-year jumbo rate at 2.75%, FHA and VA loans at 2.75%. These are purchase rates in the metropolitan Washington market brought to us by PNC Mortgage. What's going on with the market, Eyerusalem?
In the last week in Hampton Roads, we saw 691 new listings hit the market, 816 properties go pending, and 886 properties sold. In the last week in the Washington metro area, within 30 miles of the White House, we saw 1,338 new listings hit the market, 1,907 go pending, and 1,278 sold. Back over to Charlie with our special guest.
Thanks, Eyerusalem. I'd like to welcome back to the show Coach Amy Lassen. Good morning, Amy. Always good to see you.
Good morning.
So I think we have a couple interesting subjects this morning. I want to get to in a minute winning contracts in a competitive market. We're constantly hearing about this. We are having issues in most markets, certainly in our markets in the metropolitan Washington area and down in Hampton Roads. With a few price points and a few exceptions, we're getting multiple offers on properties, a dozen offers. Townhouses selling, 10, 20% above list price. So I want to talk about that in a minute. But I thought that the news that Eyerusalem shared a couple minutes ago regarding the top real estate terms consumers are searching for was rather interesting. Basically, this data is telling us what our friends, family, clients, sphere of influence, what they're thinking, what they're wondering, what questions do they have? So what if on our next e-newsletter, we address some of these questions? What if we address some of these questions on a video? What if we called people and said, hey, are you wondering about XYZ? Because we're seeing that these search terms have gone up. A refinance home loan calculator up 4,000% in the last week alone. Maybe we could send people the bank rate refinance calculator and say, have you considered refinancing your, we know that they're wondering.
Yeah.
Right. These surveys are telling us this. So refinance your home loan calculator. You could interview a lender about the benefits of refinancing, what the closing costs are. I think that, the refinance trap of it's free. It doesn't cost me any money out of pocket. Well, they tack it onto the loan. So it does cost us money, but maybe having a conversation with your favorite lender about the benefits of refinancing, what the actual costs are, what the rates are for refinances, because the rates that we go over on our show, they're purchase rates. They're not refinance rates, right?
Yeah, right.
So I just think that this is and we will send a copy of this out no later than Friday of this article. And why don't we if we can, Eyerusalem, let's put this link in the comments. How, can you use your 401k to buy a house? How low will mortgage rates go? The process of buying a house. You and I have talked ad nauseum about the wonderful content and videos that we can make by doing little snippet videos of the purchase of buying and selling, frankly. So I like that the survey is basically saying, hey, Charlie, you and Amy have been right, because this is actually what people are searching for. I'm kidding. Validation is always good.
For everyone listening to us who may be hesitating, for those of you who aren't confident in this, or you're going to take Charlie's suggestion and just throw it away, I want you to consider explaining any of these things to yourself and see how it sounds. Explain it to a family member. Say, hey, spouse, does this sound interesting to you?
Yeah.
Warm yourself up and then get on the phone or start sending videos. They really need to hear from you.
Yeah, or just a newsletter, just a newsletter. So, no, I thought that this was a super interesting article, and I'm glad that we went over it this morning. But pivoting away from that, and let's discuss this, this issue. I think you're having it in your market too in Colorado Springs, right? It's multiple offers. There's more people that are disappointed than not after a property goes under contract. I have some ideas of helping agents help their clients, and I think you'll probably agree, it all starts with preparation. I think it all starts with a powerful buyer consultation where we are having these discussions with our buyers, setting the expectations, talking about the importance of getting, pre-approved, get as far in the underwriting process as you possibly can, right? So what are your kind of introductory thoughts on the struggles? The struggle is real of winning contracts, because what we're hearing now is there's people that are so fed up with this. They're fatigued and they're taking a break. Yeah. And, if you're living in your mom's basement, not paying rent, and you're going to be a first-time home buyer, you can take a break for a while, right? Your motivation was never super strong, right? I mean, it was there, but it wasn't like we're living in a studio, we're pregnant, we need to be out of here in 5 months. That's a totally different, right? Or we're relocating, we have to buy a house, right? So the motivation factor, I think, is important in these conversations with buyers from the get-go. And then, so anyway, I've done the majority of talking since I welcomed you to the show, so I'll let you have some introductory thoughts.
No, I think you've nailed it with preparation, really asking good questions of the buyer, making sure you understand their motivation. I think sometimes rapport is broken between the agent and the client when the agent feels like, I am not convincing my client of reality. I need to try harder, whether it's a seller or a buyer. If you ever find that you're in a little bit of a head-butting match with your very own client, then your client doesn't feel cared for. So the buyer is looking to you to guide them in this extraordinarily challenging time. And so you have to step up, you have to educate them in advance about what they can expect, and then remind them of these details that are out of your control when those situations arise. Well, like I said, we're competing. Remember, we talked about empower your buyer to make very adult, important financial decisions.
Right. So the importance of getting pre-approved, and we've been using the pandemic as an excuse also to tell buyers, sellers are not going to let you even see their house without being pre-approved. Right. So I feel like that objection is even easier to handle right now, right? Because we always had some, well, I sent out my lender's information, they didn't get back to them, they want to see houses this weekend, what do I do, right? So I feel like the pandemic has kind of helped with that. And we're not talking about necessarily, if you're working Realtor.com, Zillow leads, Amy and I both understand, you get the lead, they want to see the house. We are not saying, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm not showing you that house until you meet with me for an hour. We're not suggesting that, right? Go through the LP Mama script, go show them the house, and then close for the buyer consult appointment. Because if these people are not prepared for these multiple offer situations, they're going to be frustrated, and they could end up walking away from you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
but
so
I think we
go
can
ahead.
raise the bar more. Like we
Yes.
speak to the fear, we can speak to the exception, but I think all of us could do better at holding a bar on the rule, right?
Yes.
And I love the agents that I know who are so stern by their nature. They're just not flexible. They just aren't, right? And so things are always go their way. So when you throw the what if this situation, what about this? What if it was a Zillow lead? You'd say, yeah, I'd say, here, let me patch you through to my lender right now. I'll help you out. Right. Good thing you called me. Like, they will not take no for an answer.
Well, and we've done this to ourselves.
Yeah.
We have there's always the guy that'll make the exception. There's always the guy that'll list it cheaper. There's always the guy that'll take the phone call from the angry client at 10:45 at night, right? And we wonder why we don't all work 9 to 5, right? Because there's always another guy that is willing to do whatever, right? And I think that other industries, there's not as much of that other guy, right? They're more of, I work 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, and if you want to see your lawyer, you're going to be there between 9 and 5. You mean I have to take off work to see my lawyer or my accountant? You do, because they're not open late. But realtors, hey, we're open 24/7, so you're not available during the day, we'll show you a house on Saturday night, right? Never mind, it's my anniversary and my wife's going to be pissed off because I'm showing you houses on Saturday night. But that's what you want. That's what I'll do, because I'm afraid you're going to go somewhere else.
Right. Because I'm doing it. I'm responding in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about some specific strategies around winning offers in a competitive market. We've talked about the buyer consultation. I don't think we need to go too deep there. We have tons of videos for those of you that are watching going, just go back and search, right? Knowing what their motivation is, getting pre-approved, writing clean offers.
Now we're competing.
Yes, we are competing.
First step, you call the agent before you leave the house. Don't even get back to the office and start dinking around. And maybe
I like that.
As fast as mine. But in my market, if it's been on the market 4 hours, 6 hours, they have an offer.
Yep.
So depending on the property. So call the agent before you leave the house, text the agent, and don't give me the excuse that you tried once and they didn't respond to your one method of communication. They're all busy. Do your best, right? Next thing is make sure that you know what your client is comfortable with, right? Have the no regrets conversation.
Yep.
One of the biggest problems is we haven't educated the client, and they'll say to you, well, what do you think we should offer? What's it worth? Right. So you have to have had that conversation up front. They have to make their no regrets offer and not say later, really, we would have gone 5 higher. Like you don't get a second chance.
Right.
So not that we are bullying our people into paying top dollar, but you just have to say, this is the market that we're in. Do you want the house or not? Right. Do you want to stand on pride? Right. If 370 works, does 375 work? Well, that's $5,000. Well, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money.
Right.
You want the house.
Yep.
So I think that's the next step. And then you said, write a clean offer. No joke.
Yep. Well, and getting back to what you mentioned a minute ago, building rapport with the listing agent is so important. In the DC metro market, many listings that are going to be sold quickly, we have a deadline. It goes on the market on Thursday. We know that contracts are going to be reviewed, Tuesday night, they're due by Tuesday at 4. There is time to kind of prime the agent, to talk to the agent, to become friends with the agent, right? I'm not talking about one time. I'm talking about call them constantly. Hey, where are you? How many offers do you have? How many are you expecting, right? What do I need to do to get the house for these people? They love this house, right? I'm shocked at the number of agents that don't do that. They may text the agent and say, do you have any other offers? Can you confirm the deadline? And then that's it. And then they text them, hey, I sent you an offer. But, the conversation around, do your sellers have a title company that they or you prefer, agent, right? Do they need a rent back? Because guess what? We can do the rent back for free, right? I mean, what do the sellers want? I just think it's just so important to build that rapport, to become friends with the agent. And if there's multiple offers, and if I have 6 offers and I haven't heard from 3 of the agents and all the offers are the same, those are going to go to the bottom of the pile.
Absolutely.
Right? And then talk about how, I had a multiple offer situation and I had this agent calling me every day. It was driving me crazy, but he ended up getting it. He talked about how many deals he does, how his team closes deals on time. I mean, he was a convincing person.
Yeah.
Now, he got it because the terms and the price were best. Right. But the rapport that he built with me certainly didn't hurt.
No.
And I think that there's lazy agents, none of whom are watching now, right? But don't go through that effort. And I think that that's just important. So
we have a question that I want to get to, but I want to stay on your topic because I had this situation a week ago. Multiple agents offering on my listing. And I just saw all the things that we were going to talk about. Clean. Don't make mistakes. Don't be lazy. Have somebody else review your offer. Don't submit something that gives away your lack of attention to detail. I had an agent who sent me something, and in her email, there were 2 different brokerage brands, both Coldwell Banker and Keller Williams.
Okay.
She apparently switched brokerages and didn't pay attention. No phone number. And lots of just little mistakes, words. And I just thought, okay, I've got 5. 5 offers to choose from. She just made it to the bottom of the pile with her lack of attention to detail. First person who ever offered, knowing that she had days, offered immediately and called me and did all that stuff. Let me explain why these people have to have this house. She said, Amy, promise me you'll call me back and give us a shot. They ended up writing a contingent offer, which we're going to talk about. We're going to answer Jessica's question in just a minute. She offered a contingent offer, and after we went through everything, her plea to have us let them win was emotionally compelling enough that I went back to her and asked, what can you do? She ended up being by far the highest dollar. And at the end, I finally just said, you know what? The only way you can win is to remove your contingency.
Right.
And she did. So basically, and I didn't reject it out of hand. I didn't say, sorry, no contingency. We might have lost her. And it wasn't even a strategy on my part. Right. I just kept everything in play until Tuesday. The other things that I noticed were they wrote 20,000 over. Okay. And they asked that we clean the carpet. It was just a little nitpick, and the carpet, there was nothing wrong with the carpet. Like it was just kind of a throw in, but it just showed that lack of understanding of how it works, right? $400 to clean the carpet? Not a lot of money. It would be
Right.
fine. It was a silly thing. So when you're writing this extremely aggressive clean offer, write the most perfect dates possible, right? The strongest price that you're comfortable with,
Yep.
and don't ask for little things.
Right. Don't ask for the home warranty.
No.
And by the way, if it's offered, don't ask for the home warranty. Right.
Mm.
And yeah, the little stuff, because it's not the cost of the carpet cleaning. It's the fact that someone's got to get the carpets cleaned. And frankly, it's a pain in the butt.
Well, and it's just that little distraction.
Yep.
You know, when you've got 5 and sometimes more offers to have to sort
Right.
through, make it easy on the agent. And that's my other pro tip. And I got this from a real estate attorney years ago. He said give a cover letter, but in this case, it would probably be in the email. Create a cover letter.
Yep.
Bullets out the contents of your offer.
Yep.
Make extremely clear what they're getting at a glance, and then detail what's being attached.
Yep.
Say, in this offer, and in this email attached, you will find, so they understand that the earnest money, you know, maybe it's a picture of the check that you took on your phone. Don't be lazy, right? You know, just be super proactive and thorough, button it up, put a bow on it, and make it really easy for the other agent to choose you.
Yep, I like it. And speaking of earnest money, Phil Bolin, who is the manager of our Prince William and Franconia offices, said, I think at a mastermind last year, because this is not a new discussion, right?
No.
And inventory is even worse than it was last year. Eyerusalem reported that for us on Monday. We're down a third nationwide in NAR stat. But he was saying, listen, if you're putting $100,000 down, why isn't your earnest money $100,000? Quite an interesting and compelling question. If you're truly serious, why is the earnest money this and your down payment is that? Why isn't it the same? It's like, why isn't it? And nobody could really answer the question, right? That shows that you're serious. And, you know, it just allows for a more compelling offer. We've got a lot of comments coming in over here, and I want to make sure that we've answered them.
Question, what do you recommend regarding waiving contingencies? And I mentioned one contingency. It was a home sale. I hate telling my buyers they should do this, but it seems like the only way to win. So here's the thing that terrifies me about her question is waiving the inspection contingency. I think is super dangerous, but I think what we have to talk about, and Jessica pointed out, if that's the only way to win, then you have a serious conversation to have. And Charlie, I'm curious, because this came up in coaching last week. I had a very young agent tell me that she was just going without sleep because she was so uncomfortable that she had a young couple under contract on a $1.5 million house.
Okay.
They waived their right of inspection.
Yeah.
And I said, why? And she said, well, it's customary in my market. And I thought, and this is kind of a red flag to me whenever a coaching client says, oh, it's just the way it's done.
Yeah.
It sounds not very examined. And of course, I never want to dictate to the norms in another market.
Yeah.
But I really quizzed her. Like, did you go back and forth? Did it come down to this? And she's like, well, no. And she gets so stressed out. She left the call. She was so freaked out.
Wow.
So tell me, let's both answer Jessica's question.
Yeah.
Is that first on the list to have to be sacrificed?
Around here, it seems to be now. Inspection.
Oh.
Thank you, Ressie. Ressie is reading my mind. Ressie Wilson from the Capitol Hill office.
Yeah.
So you can do a pre-inspection, right? And I've done that.
Okay.
I've done that, and the buyers have lost. Yeah. It's painful, right? As in, we did a full inspection. Yeah. This was before offers were due.
Yeah.
There are also inspectors that will do kind of this quick and dirty inspection where they're going to inspect the expensive stuff, and they're in and out of there in like an hour.
Sure.
So I think the good listing agents who know they're going to get multiple offers are putting it on the market on a Thursday. They are saying, offers are due on a Monday or Tuesday. There's time. There's some time there, and that time can be used for these pre-inspections. You can also do an inspection for informational purposes only, once you're ratified, but then I think that can just be anxious. So
I want to clarify, this is a contract question. And Jessica, I'm totally with you, Jessica. There is no way we could do pre-inspections in my market. It is moving so fast. That's just not a thing. So in my market, what you might waive is your right to get anything done.
Yep.
Like say, we will ask for nothing.
Right.
But in the case of this other high-end property, they had waived their right to have any access to the property to look at it. And that just seems aggressive to me. Like it's kind of pass-fail in my market. You say, yeah, we won't ask for anything, but you still reserve the right to get out. And maybe tighten it up. Maybe you could give yourself a 3-day inspection objection period and say that it will be a 1-hour inspection, like you said. I've never heard of that before, Charlie. So Jessica, I wonder if you could win with that. Although if you're going up against somebody who said we don't need an inspection, you're right. You just have to really go eyes wide open with your client and say, how do you feel? The thing, and maybe it depends on the price point, because in my market, I would say, okay, here are the options, here are the possibilities, right? If we have not had a sewer scope and it turns out that the sewer line has to be replaced, that's 10 grand. Okay. If there are structural issues, and hopefully just look, no, but then the agent is having to be an amateur sleuth, and that sounds.
You don't want that. No.
If you had, in my market, had serious structural damage, it could be a ridiculous amount of money. It could be,
sure. Yeah. No, I absolutely believe that it depends on the house. We see these inspections waived on condos much more often than the 50-year-old Rambler in Alexandria that could have structural damage, right?
Okay,
so, but yeah, I mean,
maybe you wouldn't be competing with other no inspection. Yeah,
honestly, the inspections they are being waived, whether we like it or not. It's happening. Somebody else, Jessica's also saying, the appraisal is an issue. We're seeing appraisals waived. We're also seeing, that people will make up the difference between the appraised value and the contract price up to a certain amount.
Right.
That is happening as well. But yeah, unfortunately, to answer your question from a couple minutes ago, I think inspection is one of the things that just goes away. If you've written 10 offers and you've got money in the bank, it's a risk that some people are willing to take. I think, it's a conversation that you need to have with your buyer and maybe prep them, and then they need to decide. I mean, if you're going FHA, you're going to be getting that appraisal where they're going to be looking at some of the major stuff anyway. But if you don't have any money, I wouldn't feel comfortable waiving an inspection contingency. I mean, I agree, but it's tough.
I wonder if you could put up hard earnest money in exchange for an appraisal. I mean, an inspection. And I don't know how much money is okay, because you're saying if we're not happy and we walk away because of inspection, we forfeit our earnest money. Because if it was enough roulette on what you might find, maybe that's the way to do it. It's like skin in the game. Like, no,
it's very funny you bring that up, because I had never heard of this, and I do not remember the term. In North Carolina, and we've been coaching with Tom for almost 4 years, lots of clients. I don't think I'd ever had one in North Carolina. She's in Raleigh, and you're basically giving the sellers a non-refundable fee.
Right.
To get the contract, right? To win. And those fees have been escalating over the last few months. And if you walk for any reason,
you lose the money.
So it's basically the seller gets this money for you to have the right to proceed. And if you, and there's still earnest money, don't get me wrong, right? So there's a little amount, a few $1,000, then there's also earnest money. So you're basically paying the right to do the home inspection. If you decide to walk, you lose that $5 grand, you lose that 10 grand. You're not going to walk if it's something fairly minor.
Right. And I think it's my clients in Texas who have that also. It's option and earnest money. And I'd never heard of
option money. Yes, you're exactly right. Yep.
Both.
Yep.
So Jessica, without that standardized in our contract, your contract, you probably just want to make your earnest money hard rather than invent option money, because now you're messing with a state form. Or playing the role of an attorney. So that may be an option when we'd say, I would rather sacrifice 10 grand in earnest money if it's that scary than be trapped into something that I just cannot go forward with. Appraisal, I want to say I'm personally more comfortable with waiving the appraisal by far. And here's why. If I was comfortable offering that much money, then it's worth that much to me. Right. If it was a wing and a prayer and I was praying that the appraiser would save me and give me a discount, then I kind of wasn't sincere about the price. When I made the offer for my daughter, I went 12 over on a very modest house. So 12 is not a huge delta, but on this little tiny house, I went 12 over and I waived. I was like, I'll pay any delta. Like however much the appraisal might fall short, I'll pay it all. I was willing to pay $312 for the house. And then I also granted them a full month of post-closing occupancy on me. And that's what it took to win.
Okay, so my list, and we've covered some of it. rapport with the listing agent, a higher down payment, a higher earnest money, a pre-inspection. I've got, this was suggested at a mastermind, I think. They actually scheduled the inspection before the house is ratified. So if they know when they're going to be ratified on Tuesday, they're telling the agent, I'm scheduled for an inspection at 10 a.m. Wednesday. In other words, we don't have to wait 5 days. I've already scheduled this, right? Because the home inspectors are busy. I thought that was an interesting suggestion. The free rent back you just talked about, escalation clauses can be your friend, and they are available in most of our markets. The letter to sellers, I realize that there's some controversy by some people around letters to sellers. I know that they work in some cases. We keep hearing it that they work in some cases. So whether you feel that that's appropriate or not is up to you. That's what I had on my list. What else did you have? What else were you thinking?
I want to piggyback on what you said. If the love letter, and I've seen this in the listing, the agent will say no love letters.
Okay.
Like, I will not show it to my client. I'm telling you that right now.
Yep.
So then what you do is take the love letter in your conversation to the agent. Right. Do what Charlie said at the top of the call, top of the show. Just talk to the agent about why your client is a good risk. And then some of these other things, what you said about, schedule the inspection right away. I had one of the 5 last week hounding me. What about my inspection day after tomorrow? And her offer wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And she just kept hounding me that this one thing made her special. It was annoying. It wasn't helpful.
Right.
So make sure that all of these things in the balance make it strong. I had someone, I told her 370 was the number to beat, so she brought me 360. It was a waste of my time to have to read it. So do the best that you can to be clean and to not just, nag on that one little thing when you've already been told you're not winning.
Right. I've got another suggestion, which is interesting, right? So if you're writing your VA, some of our markets are super heavy VA, right? There are some agents that are using VA. They're going in way above. They know that it will not be appraised at that value, and they know that it's going to be knocked down. So they basically go in super high, knowing that the price is going to end up having to come down, and chances are the sellers are not going to want to just walk and start over, and they negotiate. And that is a strategy that you can use in VA. Down in Hampton Roads, I mean, they do so many VA loans, right? Because there's an enormous naval presence down there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a strategy that's going to work, in the DC metro market, but in some markets it might work. And I thought that was really interesting when somebody hit me with that yesterday.
In my market, so then you start setting aside the FHA and the VA offers. That's rough.
Yep, agreed. But if you're in a situation where you're one of 3 VA offers,
sure,
it could work. So anyway, we are running a couple minutes over. I thought this was a great topic. We'll make a list of this and make it available to the associates. And let's not forget to review the comment that the link to the article that Eyerusalem went over. People have questions, and we know what those questions are based on that article. So why don't we go out and start answering those questions and be proactive? So with that, always good to see you. Amy, have a good rest of your day. I'll toss it back to Eyerusalem.
Thank you so much for watching. As always, we are here to make your real estate career better.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.